Hello and a very warm welcome to Game On. I'm Neha Bhardwaj-Alter and today is the biggest game of the group stage because the two teams playing today have been undefeated in the tournament. So it's the battle of the top two teams at the beautiful HPCA stadium in Dharamshala. While India are making this tournament their own after having won every game emphatically so far, they will know today will be a difficult test against a Bogey team in New Zealand. New Zealand haven't been beaten in World Cups by India in the last 20 years, and they couldn't have asked for a better venue than the pacey Dharamshala pitch. So it's a cracker of a match that's on the cards. Chetan Narula and Jamie Alter are here with us to set this up. Both are still reeling from another wrong prediction from last night, but let's not rub their noses in it, gentlemen. We'll move on. Let's talk about today's game, India versus New Zealand. Is this the most exciting game for India? I mean, for us as journalists, but also for fans, given how good these two teams have been. And, you know, they are meeting each other in Dharamshala, which makes it even more interesting. Jamie?
Look, I mean, let's face it. Yes, you mentioned that New Zealand or India's Bogey team, not just in one-day World Cups, but across all ICC events. But I think the bigger picture is that neither team has really been tested, you know. India escaped a brief passage of pressure. I'm talking about scorecard pressure. There's also something called strike rate pressure, which I believe is two different things. And let's hope that this is not that match. Or many will say, let's hope this is that match where India fall under strike rate pressure, not scorecard pressure, so that they can, you know, they can get that one big test out of the way. But both teams have had a few injury problems now and then. But the fact that they've come out with flying colors 4-0 each, obviously that streak has to end and one team will end up losing today. I just think this just sets up a fantastic clash, not just because of the one-sided history between these two teams, but you look at the conditions, you look at the teams on view. Matt Henry was man of the semi-final when India were knocked out by New Zealand. He's here. Trent Bolt. There's a lovely meme doing the rounds, Meha and Chetan. I don't know whether you've both seen it, where Trent Bolt is gleefully tossing the ball in his hands before his run-up saying, "Suna hai Virat aur Rohit aajkal bahut run maar rahe hain." So it just sets up a fantastic clash either way, you know.
Yeah.
But more than that, I'm going to harp on one thing I've always said. It's been 20 matches. We've not got a close match. You know, despite our obvious emotions and our sentiments toward the Indian team,
Yeah.
I would really love to see just a close match today. Let's all root for this close match today.
With an India win. Now, Dharamshala Stadium, Chetan, the matches played so far in the World Cups, 50 wickets have been taken, out of which 33 have been taken by the Pacers. India, you were there in Manchester in 2019, right? When India were beaten by New Zealand, they were down 5-3 and just couldn't recover from there. That's the biggest fear right now that every Indian fan has. With that kind of wicket in Dharamshala, what will India do?
Well, you know, Dharamshala, first of all, I'm not sure it's the right venue to have been playing New Zealand. And we have been talking about this, that the BCCI has been very clever with, you know, with the scheduling of the Indian games, playing, you know, Australia in Chennai, Bangladesh in Pune. The ball spins in one venue, doesn't spin in one venue. Ahmedabad, 100,000. No Dil Pakistan for Pakistan. So it was well thought out strategy, but I don't know what they were thinking when they decided that New Zealand, the game against New Zealand will be in Dharamshala. Like you said, yes, maybe one game has to be in such a venue. So here we are in the mountains, where the ball has been doing a bit, both in the hands of the pacers and the spinners. So it should be a good game for both sides, because both sides, yes, India playing at home, good batting, New Zealand, good batting, despite missing Kane Williamson. But the common element between both sides has been their bowling. Their pacers have taken wickets, their spinners have taken wickets. Both these sides have been choking out the opposition with both pace and spin. And I think the batting lineup, which contends with that element better, will come out on top today. Unlike Jamie, I'm not going to say that I want a close game, because I don't see a close game. I think whichever side wins today will be winning in a dominant fashion, as has been the trend in the league stage. And there's also a reason for it, because in the league stage, sometimes you are not at full tilt. You're totally not at full tilt. You don't want to peak early. If there's one element that is enough to do the job, you get it done. So I think that has been the current theme of this tournament.
Yeah.
But it's very tough to say so early in the day that, which side will have the conditions on its side. I think both teams are on equal footing. And just to add, to your first question, is it the biggest game of the tournament? The guy who planned India-Pakistan and in Ahmedabad, he will take offense with that statement.
Okay, we've got to set this up for all of you then. It is the clash of the only two teams who have not lost a match yet in the tournament. And the winner of this match will virtually be assured of a spot in the Final Four. Yes, we're talking about the top-ranked New Zealand versus second-placed India in scenic Dharamshala at a venue where during this World Cup Pacers have taken 33 wickets, spinners 17. Looking at today's teams, India and New Zealand are the only two sides who have not truly been challenged and who also look the most settled despite Kane Williamson being injured for the Black Caps and Hardik Pandya missing today's match for India. New Zealand have adjusted well to a spate of injuries, and the fact that they have hardly looked out of place without Williamson is a tribute to their depth and their steeliness. But ahead of India lie Australia, South Africa and Pakistan. So New Zealand have difficult matches from here on. They are India's bogey team when it comes to ICC events, with India having won just 3 of 13 matches across formats in ICC tournaments against them. So then, is this match where India will truly be challenged? Their top order is not put under strike rate pressure. They've not been put under that strike rate pressure so far. Middle order hasn't been tested. The role of their bowlers in setting up each win has been the decisive factor in 4 matches so far. Will Pandya's injury, will that open up a spot today for Suryakumar Yadav? Will Mohammad Shami get his first chance of the tournament? Will Rohit Sharma opt to bat for once? All we can say with certainty is that today only one team will remain unbeaten at the World Cup. Let's go back to both Chetan and Jamie. One thing, I know that I'm a big believer of batting first in big matches, Jamie. You agree with that?
Yeah.
But if there's one game that teams should look to chase in, it's today.
I put out this tweet late last night. I actually went through all the 20 matches and I put out there for everyone to see the stats. Can anyone, I know Chetan has strong views, but can anyone convince me that, that chasing is the way to go? I just don't understand, like Chetan mentioned, I think this is not being spoken enough. The credit for India being 4-0 up is down to the bowlers, Meha, right? Anyone who tells me that India is a great chasing team, I'm not going to say yes, because what have India's targets been? 199, 200, 192, 256 and 273. These are extremely gettable targets when it comes to these conditions, right? What is India going to be able to do when that one team, and let's face it, the way India is bowling, probably no team is going to cross 310, 315 against this bowling attack. But if that one day comes in the World Cup when India chose to field and something goes wrong and the target is 320 or odd, that is why I'm talking about not just the scorecard pressure, but like you also mentioned, the strike rate pressure, right? Look at yesterday's match. Chetan, he was there. He'll tell you, on that scorching afternoon with this crocked bowling attack, you chose to field. I would shriek from the rooftops. Why your team? Show me how many teams have with bad bowling attacks. Babar Azam did it day for yesterday and paid the price. Where is the due? 20 matches, due has barely shown up in 3 matches. Are we still going to go on about the merits of chasing? Show me the time, barring that one match against the worst bowling attack, when are teams chasing in excess of 280? It's happened once.
Yeah.
Why are teams still chasing?
Okay, so the match that I can think of, Chetan, are the 2 matches. One is England versus Bangladesh in Dharamshala, which was completely dominated by England, where actually Bangladesh opted to bowl. And they bore the brunt of it because England ended up scoring 364, a beautiful 140 from David Malan. and it was game over for Bangladesh. I mean, Mushfiqur Rahim towards the end with Tawhid Hridoy got some runs, but 227 all out. That's one game I can think of. But then the other one also, which Netherlands won, right? That was again team chasing. It was very difficult for them. So I don't know what to think of when it comes to this. I just feel like, when in doubt, bat. So, but we've had this conversation long enough. You have any different opinion on this?
You and I may always have different opinions on this. You said that today we bat first. I'll go one step ahead and I'll say today is the day. You said today we should bowl first. I'll go one step ahead and say today is the day to bat first. Whether India or New Zealand win the toss, they should be batting first today. The thing about due, and here is the point about due that Jamie makes, there hasn't been due, but try convincing any of those 10 captains to not chase under lights, thinking, oh, there hasn't been due so far in 20 matches. None of them are going to do that. See, when you make a decision, you always make a decision taking in consideration all the variables, and due is one of the variables. Obviously, so what happens is, for example, Tom Latham said yesterday in the press conference, there was dew at 5 p.m. And we are playing in the mountains and it's going to be cool conditions. So dew is a given. The thing is, on pre-match day, they don't spray the anti-dew, the chemical there is, so that dew doesn't happen. They don't do that for pre-match day, for practice sessions, etc., etc. They do it for match days. It is done before the match day to a larger extent. After the practice is done, when the field has to be finally handed over to the umpires, the entire field of play is not completely ready on pre-match day. So when the captain says there was dew at 5 p.m., he's going to be thinking that when he's trying to make a decision at the toss. And all of these captains are going to consider it. If there is a chance for dew and the batsman can benefit from it, it is going to influence their decision. And this is what we have seen throughout the tournament, more than actual dew happening, more than actual dew influencing the chasers. And this is going to keep happening throughout the tournament. It's only going to get cooler. It's only going to have more dew. We're now playing in Mumbai and Bangalore as well, grounds where dew makes chase easier. So I think this element you can't take away from decision making. Today, again, it might just decide the battle. But in my particular opinion, today is the day to bat first.
One day, Chetan, one day you and I will agree, and it'll be a wonderful day. But look, did you just see the visuals, visuals of that Dharamshala? Visuals of Dharamshala, and then the stadium itself, Jamie. I know you watched matches there. Is that the most beautiful ground you've been to?
Absolutely, just because of these visuals. When you're at any stadium in the mountains, it's obviously natural beauty, but then it's sort of in the valley, right? So here's the ground, you're already at altitude, but this fantastic Dhauladhar mountain ranges is all around you. And I think that just makes it, scenic. When you're sitting from the press box and then you walk down to the stands, because it's one of the few grounds where, probably that and the Gaul Stadium where we've all been, one of the two grounds where you actually want to spend time outside the press box. You look at that mountain range, just behind the opposite end. It's absolutely stunning. So yeah, I would say hands down this number one, and then Gaul with that Dutch fort, probably number two in terms of grounds which have a fantastic outside setting.
Okay, now let's get to what Rahul Dravid had to say in the pre-match press conference on the eve of the match. Two important points made there, both on Hardik Pandya's injury and his absence from this game. So one is how this injury has affected the balance of the side. If we could put that quote up, he says, we will surely and obviously miss the balance we've had in our first 4 games. And that, that's the other thing. What will India do today? It's very important. So this is what he says. He says, we'll obviously miss the balance that we've had in the first 4 games. Shardul Thakur's role was to be a bowling all-rounder, bowl those middle overs, and he's got a knack of picking wickets. He hasn't had the chance to bat for long, but he's been working hard on his batting. So this is about how this has impacted their balance. Then he's also spoken about what happens with Hardik out. What will India look to do? So hasn't really committed to it, but he says this is what they could do. He says with Hardik not been there, we can certainly go in with 3 fast bowlers. We can also play Ashwin alongside him and then the two spinners. We wouldn't want to give much out, but we know what our playing 11 is for tomorrow. So very clear on what they are looking to do. But what this has done is that this has just given us more reasons to discuss what they're likely to do, because they've still not openly told us what they'll do. Chetan, what do you think India will look to do? There's another school of thought which is interesting, which is which a lot of people may not like, which is to get Kuldeep Yadav to sit out and get Ravichandran Ashwin in and get Mohammad Shami.
I think you're the only one thinking that.
That's not true. That's not true. My good friend and Crick Info reporter, I think Siddharth Monga has written this. I will have to recheck, but I read it somewhere and I think this is what he said, that the other thing could be that Ashwin will provide that balance when it comes to batting. So he's your spinner along with Jadeja, the all-rounder, so both of them together. And then instead of Shardul Thakur, get Mohammad Shami in. It's an interesting one if you think about it. Also, given the number of left-handers they have in their batting lineup, New Zealand. I think they have 5 in their batting. So that's one thing. But yes, I think you'll go in with the one that everyone's talking about, Surya Kumar Yadav and Mohammad Shami, right?
Well, that's the obvious choice. That's the obvious choice. You have to strengthen your batting. Logic dictates that you need to strengthen your batting when obviously Hardik Pandya has gone out of the situation. Like we discussed, these are the 2 best bowling attacks in the tournament. So logic dictates that you strengthen your batting. And then obviously there's the Shardul Thakur question. So again, logic dictates that you strengthen your bowling as well. Bring in Mohammad Shami or you bring in Ravichandran Ashwin. So you bring in a full bowler who can bowl 10 overs and give you, provide you those 50 overs, full 50 overs, something that there is maybe a bit of a doubt with Shardul Thakur, and Rahul Dravid has said as much. We play Shardul because there is Hardik. I don't think they can say the same thing for Ashwin. I don't think they can say the same thing for Shami.
Yeah.
However, if we are talking left field, combinations and possibilities, and I respect Mr. Monga. He's probably one of the most fabulous cricket journalists in the country. But I still don't think that Kuldeep Yadav can be left out of this playing 11 under any circumstances, even if they want to, cater to the situation with Hardik Pandya not being there. Kuldeep Yadav has just been in such brilliant form. It just doesn't make sense to leave him out. And hence, here's my left field. They will not play a batsman today. They'll play a bowler. They'll play probably Ravichandran Ashwin in place of Hardik Pandya, and they will promote Ravindra Jadeja to number 6. Ravichandran Ashwin at number 7, Shardul Thakur at number 8. That is going to be your playing 11. If we are talking about left field, so you have your 5 batsmen and then your 3 all-rounders and then your spinner and then your 2 pacers. So no Mohammad Shami. They'll bring in Ravichandran Ashwin.
You are going to play one batter less against the likes of Trent Bolt, Matt Henry, Lockie Ferguson in those conditions, even under the lights or batting first. Either way, Jamie, that's...
No, see, I'll tell you. First of all, I'll just tell you, it's multiple reports. Mohammad Shami is warming up. So Mohammad Shami is playing, right?
Okay.
But speaking, if we're going down the left field route of thinking, the 3 of us did discuss on one of these shows when Ashwin was named. We said it's not out of the realm of impossibility that one fine day Ashwin and Jadeja play and Kuldeep sits out. This was when Chetan was telling us about his discussion with MSK Prasad and how in 2017 they moved on. And all 3 of us were discussing how, if that situation arises, how unfair it would be on Kuldeep Yadav, but how it'll go against what a former selector and vis-a-vis the team was actually thinking not long ago. So in the realm of left field thinking, it's not out of possibility, but I'm going to say it's probably a 1% possibility. If it happens, look, I just think, again, I agree with you, Mia, it does weaken the batting, and the batting which has not been tested beyond number 5. Hardik Pandya came out to bat once and faced, I think, 4 or 7 deliveries, right? So Jadeja, Pandya, and whoever plays as the all-rounder have not been tested. But for me, 3 spinners in Dharamshala, that's the biggest sign that it just doesn't make sense in this match, which is against your bogey team, 3 spinners to me makes no sense.
Okay. Chetan, you want to make a point?
Yeah, and I'm just saying this now because I don't want to say this after the toss. But there's also been another meme, and it's not really a meme. Suryakumar Yadav shared an Instagram story last night, or was it the day before? There's something happened there, and it's been making the rounds. And it's from the Munna Bhai movie where this guy is watching and just sitting and watching what really is happening because he's in the hospital or something like that. And Suryakumar Yadav did suffer a blow on his hand. Was it the left hand or the right hand yesterday in the practice? So is he even fit enough to play? And if he's not fit enough to play, do you want to play Ishan Kishan at number 6? Or do you want to play Ishan Kishan and then change your...
Yeah.
Who's also... I think I think that's still okay. You can still play cricket if you're stung by a bee, but unless you're stung on your hand or anything. My point is, do you want to play Ishan Kishan and bat him at number 6? Or you want to play Ishan Kishan and then bat him at 4 and 5 and then changing the order with Rahul and Shreyas Iyer, etc., etc.? Or do you just want to say, okay, you know what? Let me bring in Shami. Again, Shami is warming up great. What I'm trying to say is, they don't bring in a full-time batsman for Hardik Pandya. And it's not what I would do. I would bring in Suryakumar Yadav and Mohammad Shami. Go simple. Very, very simple. Very, very logical. I am just thinking left field because the Indian team can think left field. Rahul Dravid can think left field. And he said that yesterday. We are very clear with the playing 11 we want. And the only thing he didn't discuss was bringing Mohammad Shami and Suryakumar Yadav, and he discussed everything else. So it's anybody's guess, but I'm just saying that's the left field option for you. I don't see Kuldeep Yadav being dropped, but at the same time, could they not even play a full-time batsman? That's not completely ruled out.
Okay, now what Chetan was referring to, the Indian camp, they had another injury scare on the eve of that match against New Zealand. Suryakumar Yadav, he was hit on his right forearm during the nets. He looked in severe pain after being struck by a full toss from the throwdown specialist, Raghu. He was seen applying an ice pack on his hand and he did not bat after that. The consolation is that the injury wasn't a serious one and Sky didn't require an X-ray or a scan for that. But we still don't know. We don't have any clarity on whether he's fit for today. Will he play or not? No confirmation. We all know that Hardik Pandya did not travel to Dharamshala with the team. He's being treated for his ankle injury in NCA by a specialist from England, but also in Dharamshala. During the nets, India's second wicketkeeper and batter, Ishan Kishan, he was stung by a bee on the back of his neck while batting. He was the first to bat at the nets, left the scene holding his head. Just wrap them in cotton wool. Do not let them go out. We've seen what injuries can do to these players. One player is injured, Hardik Pandya, and India are now, in this situation where they've got to figure out how to fit in 2 players for that one player who was doing the role of 2. The balance has gone awry. Jamie, let's also talk a little bit about New Zealand and how good a side they've been. What is it that India will be worried about? Because they've got their bases covered as well. First, India's top order versus the Pacers, but Mitchell Santner's also been among the wickets. He's been, he's the highest wicket taker right now in the tournament. So this team just is the other well-balanced, performing, in-form team other than India.
Exactly. Strike rate pressure. That's why I feel there's a difference in scorecard pressure and strike rate pressure. 2016 T20 World Cup, first match, Nagpur, India were absolutely blown away. I don't think they even got to 100 because New Zealand's 3 spinners really choked. And that to me is the match which sort of brought under the spotlight the inability of major legends of the white ball game in dominating spin. And I think we saw that again in the 2019 World Cup. We saw it in the 2021 World Cup against New Zealand. That second match, after losing to Pakistan, India had to win every single match. And once again, it was the spinners that tied them down. Virat Kohli was reduced to almost a strokeless wonder. And here, even if Mitchell Santner had not taken the 11-odd wickets that he's taken, I would have said, and I'm reading on multiple websites now that the pitch has an unusual lack of grass. So it might be slower. That just amplifies the role of Mitchell Santner. India have never been able to get past Mitchell Santner somehow in white ball cricket. Then you add Trent Bolt. I'll say it again very cautiously. He's not had that Trent Bolt kind of day. Matt Henry, like I mentioned, 3 for 37, figures good enough to earn him the man of the match award 4 years ago. If conditions seem somehow, I'm not worried about India's bowling. I've said the bowling is fantastic. I don't even think Devin Conway, Ravindra, I don't see any batsman, even Tom Latham, who's got an exceptional ODI record against India and India. For me, the threat is Henry, Bolt, and Santner. Ferguson, not a problem. Sodi, Odi, jo bhi aayega. Those 30 overs against these three bowlers, that's where I think the match will be decided.
Which then takes me to the next question, Chetan. The kind of aggression that we've seen from Rohit Sharma, we've seen from Shubman Gill, should they be going by that same template against Matt Henry, against Trent Bolt, given that Trent Bolt has gotten Rohit Sharma out more than a couple of times? That record clearly, he's got an upper hand there. So should it really be about, let's just take a step back. He's a good bowler. I have a problem against left arm quicks. Or should he just look to overpower him straight away?
No, I don't think so. They should change anything about the way they have been batting. I think, you don't want to do that against any particular opposition. You are then sending out the wrong message, and especially to somebody like a Trent Bolt who's had India's number, Matt Henry, India's number. I mean, I kind of disagree with Jamie. I think Lockie Ferguson is also very dangerous. In the middle overs, he's been really effective for them with his short ball ploy. I'm not saying he's going to deploy the short ball against Indian batsmen, but he's been really successful in the middle overs with his pace and with his variations, change of length on these hard Indian pitches, which not a lot of foreign or overseas bowlers have been able to do. So I don't think any of the Indian batsmen need to change the way they bat. I think India needs to make a batting statement today. And it has to be similar to what they have done against Shaheen Afridi. Because, yes, that 2021 T20 World Cup happened in Dubai where Shaheen destroyed the top order and Pakistan won the game. But since then, Rohit and company made it a point that, look, it happened. It can happen in sport, but it's not going to happen always. And we are capable enough to handle Shaheen Afridi. And they have prepared accordingly. And they have taken Shaheen Afridi to cleaners.
Yeah.
And Trent Bolt, obviously, a much better bowler than Shaheen Afridi. In the modern day, I think I put him on the same pedestal as somebody like as the great Wasim Akram. That's how intelligent he is. That's how sharp he is. So they still are capable enough of handling him, and they need to send out that message in these conditions, in Dharamshala, where he will probably enjoy the conditions more than any part of India. So I think India should not change anything about the way they bat. The only thing they should do is pick the right batting lineup.
Okay, so as Jamie was saying, this is the pitch report. This is from Ravi Shastri and Simon Dewell. They're saying least grass that I've seen in Dharamshala. It'll be on the slower side. What one must worry about is the dew and how much dew comes on. It is a lot cooler here, so that will be a factor taken into account as well. This pitch will be on the slower side, but it's still a good wicket to bat on. Despite there being dew, teams though shouldn't be afraid to bat first. This is what the pitch report is. We're just 2 minutes away from the toss. Let's also put this quote up of the Kiwi skipper, Tom Latham. He's talking about how India is a fantastic team. So how are they preparing against India? Let's put that quote up. He said that they are a fantastic team. They've been playing some great cricket for a long period of time. We've had some great contests in ICC events, but also in bilateral series, whether that be home or away. And then he says that India's top order, they've been fantastic this tournament. And says, and again, our bowling attack has done a really good job up front as well. So that's going to be a great contest with bat and ball, and obviously vice versa with Indian seamers in our top order. So that's the other thing. He's also spoken about adaptability and sticking to a plan, helping New Zealand. He says being adaptable is probably one of the most important things for us as a group, and trying to do that as quick as possible. So yeah, again, we're in India, we're off for different conditions that we're used to. So adaptability is sticking to our plan as best as you can. Now let's talk about let's talk about, Jamie, India's middle order and the problem. In every which way, you look at the two sides in the World Cup so far, they balance each other out in the way they've performed. Their top orders got centuries, done well. Their new ball bowlers are doing the job. India's new ball bowlers are doing the job. Their spinners are doing the job. India's spinners are doing the job. So everything has been tested. I think the only place or the only part which could be a problem for India is that middle order. And how important will it be today, given that, the conditions are such that there is a possibility of your top order not being able to get off to a big start?
Correct. So the conditions are one thing, but I think for me, more than the conditions, because I've got a lot of faith in this Indian team, more so the way they came back collectively during the Asia Cup. More than the conditions, you're now facing the best team. Let's face it, in the tournament, best not just because of unbeaten, but they've got a superior net run rate. So the team which is ranked number one is by default the number one team. So how do you counter all the factors that we've already discussed here, And then I go back to what I said earlier about beyond number 5, the batting has not been tested. There's enough to believe that if India bat first, and again, let's stress on the need to bat first. If the batting comes together the way it has in the previous 4 matches, albeit against weaker opposition, there's no reason to think that maybe number 6 and 7 will be required to do something which they've not. If everything goes well, Rohit, Gill, Virat, Iyer and Rahul will probably do the bulk of the scoring. But if it doesn't happen, and this is that day when you perhaps are down to 10 for 3 and the catches are held and the wickets keep falling, then your middle order comes into the picture. So let's say that day does happen against Henry, Ferguson, Bowles, Santner, and whoever the 5th bowler is, Rachin, Ravindra. Do India have the middle order to stand up? I don't know. Not like Hardik Pandya has done much in the World Cup, but somehow just his presence, it offers so much to the belief, especially Rohit Sharma's belief. We discussed Rohit Sharma can keep on playing Shardul Thakur because Hardik Pandya is there. Now, without Hardik Pandya, your balance goes off. Whether it's Ishan Kishan who comes in, whether it's Suryakumar Yadav who comes in, whether it's left field Jadeja who comes in, are all these guys going to be able to stand up to scorecard pressure and strike rate pressure? I'm not so sure. If they click, it'll have to be them clicking when a platform has been set, So there's no straightforward.
Jamie.
I would like to believe that the top 5 keep doing the job, despite New Zealand being so dominant. But if not, then it doesn't matter who plays at 6, because then it's not going to be India's day.
But you know what? You should just stop expecting any of these captains to bat first, because Rohit Sharma has won the toss and he has opted to bowl first. He said that we will field first. He says no reason to do that. We were here training yesterday and felt a bit of dew coming in. Looks like a good pitch. We'll back ourselves to chase. So there you go. I think, Chetan, you were spot on in what you said earlier on, that none of these captains will bat first. It's almost like it's in their head that dew is going to play a role and is going to play a huge role, and they don't think scoreboard pressure is a big thing, or as Jamie was saying, that the run rate, that pressure, that strike rate pressure, is that something that can impact them? I think they all just look at dew as being the biggest variable. And once again, India won the toss and they have opted to field. They also, they won everything chasing. So that's another thing that would have sort of tilted his decision. Yes, Chetan.
Well, I don't get many predictions right, but this I think I did get right. That none of the captains, just no way. And I should also say here that I was just
listen. Rohit Sharma wins the toss, he will chase. I mean, this team has won everything chasing, and he said that I'm not going to change anything, huh?
And why? I will tell you why this is a wrong decision. This could be a wrong decision today, and I agree with you. They should have batted first. Why?
Yeah.
Ravi Shastri, people like to make fun of him for whatever, his antics or whatever, memes, etc., etc. But as a coach, he probably had one of the sharpest minds in modern day cricket. And look what he says in his pitch report. Don't just think about the dew. You should be brave enough to bat first. When Ravi Shastri is saying that, there is a reason for it. That even if there is dew, in these conditions, in these cooler conditions, there's also a chance that somebody like a Trent Bolt, a Matt Henry, a Lockie Ferguson will get enough movement. We are in, at the end of October, playing in Dharamshala. There's going to be movement under lights. Even if the ball is wet, they might just get that enough movement, and you don't need grass for that sort of movement. So I don't want to say that it's the wrong decision, because obviously we have a full game ahead of us. But for a change, I just want to be on the record that today I would have liked the team winning toss, obviously India in this case. I would have liked them to bat first. I think that is a less risky option, particularly from an Indian standpoint. They should have batted first. But again, like I said, I've learned from my mistakes, predicting, like especially yesterday. There's a long game ahead of us, 100 overs. We don't know what's going to happen. So let's not say they did wrong. I'm just saying I would have preferred to see this back.
Okay. So the other thing is that we were all wondering what would they do in Hardik Pandya's absence. Rohit Sharma has said that Hardik isn't available. So Shardul goes out, and Shami and Surya Kumar Yadav come in. So there you have it. That's your Indian 11 for today. 2 changes there. Hardik Pandya, of course, injured, so he wasn't going to be part of this playing 11 in his place. There have been 2 changes that have been made clearly to add that balance to the side, where Mohammad Shami has come in. And you know what? I'm excited about Mohammad Shami in these conditions. First up bowling right now. I think you could see him among the wickets. And then there is Surya Kumar Yadav. Thankfully, that injury in the nets yesterday wasn't very serious. He's playing today, and that is India's playing 11. They've chosen to field first. Rohit Sharma had said it even earlier in the last game against Pakistan where India won. He said, you know what, we've won everything chasing, so why change that? And possibly that's another reason, and due being, of course, the other reason. Tom Latham was asked about what he would have liked to do at the toss, and he says we would have bowled first as well. He says looks a good surface, and we know that dew will come in. The important thing is whatever we do, we need to do well. We need to keep the momentum going. We're in a new ground, new conditions, so we need to adjust to these conditions. And they've got the same team for today, so they've gone in with 3 seamers and 2 spinners, and they couldn't have made any changes. I mean, this team's working out for them. I don't think in such a crucial match, Jamie, they would have liked to make any changes. But India going in with Mohammad Shami and with Surya Kumar Yadav along expected lines. How do you see Mohammad Shami's role today? You know, given that they'll be bowling first here, and India, one thing would not want is that scoreboard pressure. Because all this while, you see how India won. They haven't got a big score to chase down. You know, their bowling has made sure that they've been restricted to under 300 in all the games. So how do you see that playing out for India?
It was the only logical option, and I'll repeat myself. If you need a bowler to bowl 10 overs, it's going to be Ashwin and it's going to be Mohammad Shami, right? Shardul Thakur has bowled 2 overs, 6 overs, and 9 overs. He's never, to my mind, going to bowl 10 overs. You needed a bowler. This is that rare one match where you're going to have to, only one match, get 50 overs out of 5 bowlers. On that logic, you had to bring in Mohammad Shami. And like we said, Hardik Pandya, if you go through this 11, barring him, if any of the 10 players get injured, they're replaced by 1 player. Hardik is the only player who gets replaced by 2. So absolutely not surprised. Yes, there will be dew most likely, but it was less than a week ago that South Africa, who have the only top 6 to rival this Indian top 6, chose to field in a match where there had been rain, there'd been some snow around, not even remotely one of those days. Right now, it's a clear day. They couldn't chase 245 against Netherlands. So while I fully back this Indian team to do the job and probably bowl out New Zealand for a gettable target, if it's not one of those days, you'll be looking 6 days ago at how South Africa did the same thing and couldn't chase 245.
Okay, those are visuals from Dharamshala. Let's play those visuals for all our viewers. Fans outside the Dharamshala stadium. It's a beautiful place to be. I mean, this is perfect for these fans. The weather's nice, temperature hovering around 18 to 20 degrees. What's not to love about going out there and watching a game of cricket, especially if it's being played by the top 2 teams, with India being one of those teams against New Zealand side, the other team that the world loves. if you ask anybody, which is the second team you love after India, Indian fans, they'll say New Zealand, right? Even despite the fact that New Zealand have beaten India in so many World Cup games. But there are some fans who have something to say. So let's hear what they are saying before this game.
हम लोग ऑस्ट्रेलिया से आए हैं, ये मेरे दोस्त है ऑस्ट्रेलिया से, तो हम लोग आज क्योंकि ऑस्ट्रेलिया नहीं है तो they will support India and it will be a very good match and we are looking forward to it.
So what's your name?
Cass.
What are your prediction of today's match? Will it win India or New Zealand?
I'd like India to win, but hopefully it's a close game, high scoring. Hopefully see a few good sixes from both sides and we can hopefully get a catch out in the crowd.
ਅੱਜ ਦੋਨੋਂ ਟੀਮਾਂ ਹੀ ਬਹੁਤ ਵਧੀਆ ਖੇਲਣਗੀਆਂ ਤੇ ਬਹੁਤ ਹੀ ਤਗੜਾ ਮੁਕਾਬਲਾ ਹੋਏਗਾ ਤੇ ਆਪਾਂ ਸਪੋਰਟ ਕਰ ਰਹੇ ਹਾਂ ਇੰਡੀਆ ਟੀਮ ਨੂੰ ਤੇ ਜਿੱਤੇਗੀ ਵੀ। ਇੰਡੀਆ ਹੀ 20 ਸਾਲ ਪੁਰਾਣਾ ਇਤਿਹਾਸ ਅੱਜ ਬਦਲਿਆ ਜਾਊਗਾ ਤੇ ਅੱਜ ਇੰਡੀਆ ਟੀਮ ਜਿੱਤੇਗੀ। ਭਾਰਤ ਮਾਤਾ ਦੀ, ਭਾਰਤ ਮਾਤਾ ਦੀ।
I think India is going to get up. Home ground advantage. Up in the mountains is probably going to suit New Zealand a little bit more because it's a little bit cooler up here. But I think India will come through.
The Indian gentleman is very enterprising. He said, "इनका ऑस्ट्रेलिया का मैच नहीं है आज, ये यहाँ पे हमारे साथ हमें cheer करेंगे." He's got two Australian fans to cheer for India. But wonderful to watch. Wonderful to watch this. So, for all of you who are wondering what has happened so far in Dharamshala at the HPCA Stadium, India won the toss. They've opted to field. They made 2 changes in the absence of Hardik Pandya. Suryakumar Yadav, he has come in to the playing 11, and Mohammad Shami, he has come in place of Shardul Thakur. So there you go. India have won the toss. They've opted to field first. Rohit Sharma at the toss set, that looks like a good pitch, and they'll back themselves to chase because India won all their games chasing so far. They know the formula to how to chase, and then they've got a chase master in Virat Kohli. But what this means is that Indian bowlers with the new ball straight away need to strike. That's important because of how lethal New Zealand batting has been. The other thing is Tom Latham, he was asked at the toss what he would have liked to do. He said, we would have bowled first as well. They've gone in with the same team from the last game. A big match, India's bogey team, New Zealand. India have not won in the World Cups against New Zealand since 2003. That's 2 decades. And we still love New Zealand. Somehow all Indian fans still love New Zealand because of how New Zealand always fly under the radar, beat India and don't make a fuss about it. And you know, they're just the nice guys of cricket. That is the India playing 11. There are 2 changes there. Mohammad Shami, he's getting his first game of the World Cup. And there is Suryakumar Yadav, the same with him as well. I'm excited about what Suryakumar Yadav and Mohammad Shami will look to do, guys. I mean, this is a huge moment for them, Suryakumar Yadav as well. And I wonder how players like them, who are sitting on the bench, who know that they might or might not get a game, finally get a game. And this kind of a game where, you know, you are going to be against the best bowlers. The approach, how do you think they'll be approaching, Jamie?
Look, they're going to have to just you know, lift their game. Like I mentioned earlier, neither team has really been tested. So anywhere you look at it, conditions, you know, dew, whatever it is, both teams are going to have to play a slightly different brand. And let's face it, whichever team ends up winning today, not just because they'll virtually be into the semi-finals, they're going to take so much confidence, right? New Zealand probably have been tested slightly more than India because the batting has gone into the lower middle order. India has not gone there, but the bowlers on both sides. And I'll say it again, I'm going to stick my neck out and say that India have the bowlers to keep New Zealand to a gettable target, you know. And I'm saying that from the perspective of targets of 200, 192, 257 and 273. In a World Cup, for this Indian team, which is next to unbeatable, these are immensely gettable. So gettable that you can come back from 2 to 3 to win by a massive margin and do your net run rate some good, you know. But New Zealand, like Chetan mentioned, there's Trent Bolt, you know, he hasn't had that day. He doesn't really need Dew to do wonderful things, you know. So this is a match which I believe is going to be set just like Chetan started off by saying, the credit for the bowlers in this. It's fantastic to see KL Rahul 97 not out, Virat Kohli. These wins would not have been possible without what Jasprit Bumrah has done. He is India's leading wicketaker. I tipped Kuldeep Yadav to do what he's doing. Kuldeep Yadav hasn't really turned up to that level. He's doing a very good job. Ravindra Jadeja, look at how awesome he's been. Siraj is still, to come to the party, to use a cliche. India's bowling has been outstanding. Now, you put on Mohammad Shami, with many countless Indian fans would say, isko to day one se khelna chahiye tha. If Mohammad Shami is your first pick off the bench in these conditions, you have the bowling to really set yourself, that target. Let's hope it happens, But if it doesn't happen, oh my gosh, we're going to be talking a lot tomorrow about this toss, aren't we?
See, I'm going to be nice to you guys today. No predictions, because when India is playing, I'm going to steer clear of predictions. We know who should win and who we want should win. So, guys, thank you so much for joining me here. I'm just going to take, because I don't think you'll have anything to say about your wrong predictions from last night. I'm just going to take the read to that match. Thank you so much for joining us here. But let's quickly give you the results from last night. England's hopes of making the semi-finals appear all but over after the defending champions were hammered by a record 229 runs on Saturday in Mumbai by South Africa. Having made the decision to field with a rejigged bowling attack on a scorching afternoon, England conceded their highest ever ODI score of 399 for 7, and in reply were bowled out for 170 in 22 overs. Heinrich Klaassen, he smashed 109 from 67 deliveries, and Marco Jansen clubbed 6 sixes in his unbeaten 75 from 42 balls as South Africa scored 135 runs from their final 9 overs. Set a target of 400, England were reduced to 68 for 6 inside 12 overs, with the returning Ben Stokes out for just 5, and the team only crossed 100 thanks to some tail-end slogging from Gus Atkinson and Mark Wood, who made 35 and 43 respectively. This win keeps South Africa in the 3rd place on the points table, but they now have the best net run rate, whereas England's 3rd loss in 4 matches leaves them needing a miraculous turnaround to stay in contention for the semi-finals. That's the result from last night, but we're all looking forward to the match that'll start in 15 minutes from now between India and England. Hopefully a close game with India winning. That's what we want. That's it then. Enjoy your weekend, guys. For now, goodbye. Thanks for watching.
Delhi has the fastest growing metro network among G20 nations. From 6 stations in 2002, it today has 286 stations. Reliability, cleanliness and affordability have set the template for other Indian metros. The architect of this modern-day world-class marvel is E. Sridharan. Watch the extraordinary life of Metroman E. Sridharan streaming now on News9 Plus. Download now.
China won't let us rest easy on our borders, but they will keep flooding our markets. What does Xi Jinping really want?
I think he wants the Indian market, no doubt about it. It's really a matter of showing their dominance.
India's great Chinese conundrum.
Nobody can contain it. Not the United States, not China, not anybody else.
Frenemies. This and more. Streaming on the world's first news OTT, News9 Plus. Download now.
I almost did not want to find out that Rajiv Gandhi was corrupt. Is it possible for a Prime Minister of a country to tell so many lies? You cannot imagine the pressure on me by the VP Singh government to write this story, to blame Amitabh Bachchan. Mr. Modi, open the boxes. Hello, my name is Chitra Subramaniam. I am a journalist by profession. my investigations into Bofors brought down the Rajiv Gandhi government.
This and more streaming now on the world's first news OTT, News 9 Plus. Download now.
United States has always been seen as this world power, and they do not want this image to go away.
Any attack which is simultaneous on the Gaza Strip will create a public opinion against America.
So therefore they cannot be entirely pro-Israel and they cannot be entirely anti or even swing on the other side and become pro-Arab.
And with a fresh war brewing in the Middle East, the trade, the economy and the business is going to miserably suffer, and that's the last thing that Biden would want.
A worst possible scenario for US President Joe Biden as he visits Israel. Hours before his touchdown, a hospital in Gaza is bombed, leaving hundreds dead, and a blame game between Israel and the Arab world begins.
I was deeply saddened and outraged by the explosion at the hospital in Gaza yesterday. And based on what I've seen, it appears as though it was done by the other team, not you.
Biden's meetings with Palestinian leaders have been called off.
على إلغاء القمة المقررة في عمان اليوم مع الرئيس بايدن.
And the balancing act for the world's sole superpower has become even more precarious.
US has traditionally had a great amount of support for Israel. We've also seen close to 6 million Jews actually staying in the United States, being a part of the prosperous economy.
The flip-flop of relations between Iran, Iraq, Saudi Arabia with the Western world makes it very complex, and I suppose Israel gives them a toehold in that area.
Today, the US interest in the Arab world is to keep out China and Iran. The interest of the United States of America was to keep supply lines of oil open.
The Suez Canal has been one of the most important trade points, and any disruption in this area really causes a big concern.
After the initial shock of the terror attacks on Israel, Biden's top diplomat, United States Secretary of State Anthony Blinken, went on a 2-day trip to Israel and Jordan. Eventually, he was in the region for nearly a week, holding meetings across 7 countries.
Biden, since the war began between Israel and Hamas, has reflected on the pain and the agony that the Jews have undergone in Israel. He has also said that US will militarily support Israel.
We must be crystal clear. We stand with Israel.
And has already sent in 2 aircraft carriers, which are massive.
The American presence at the moment is also a warning for any surprises which might come from the proxies which are not completely at the moment visible.
But also a message from United States to Iran and several other players in the region to not interfere or intervene in the war between Israel and Hamas.
The worry for America is that the Hezbollah should not get in. Hezbollah has something like 2 lakh rockets. Imagine if they fire 30% of it on the western borders of Israel, what will happen? No Iron Dome can sustain that.
The cancellation of talks by Jordanian and Palestine authorities indicates how the United States is being pushed into a corner. Israel is committed to a ground offensive on Gaza, and with Hamas supporter Iran joining hands with Saudi Arabia,